Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. And we have with us a very special and first time guest, Colonel retired Sandy Miarecki, joining us, who has some great information and insight regarding her military background with respect to how it connects to the 2024 election that we are just days away from, in one of the arguably most important elections in our certainly recent history's lifetime. Now, again, if you are new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share, as it helps the channel grow and get the knowledge out to those who are have it be afforded as you are having it afforded to you. As you all know, who are on this podcast for a while, we always announce our first time guests. We read their respective bio before we dialogue with them. So I will do that. So thusly, retired Colonel Lieutenant Sandy Miarecki is retired U.S. Air Force, is a PhD physicist. She was born in Chicago and raised in Northern Illinois. She was the valedictorian of her high school class and attended the University of Illinois, Urbana. She received her degree in astrophysics and completed the U.S. Air Force ROTC program. In the U.S. Air Force, Sandy became a pilot, instructor pilot, as well as a test pilot during her career. She was injured by a vaccine in the 1990s and barely completed 20 years of service, retiring in 2007. Due to health issues, she transitioned into a non-flying career in order to teach physics at the Air Force Academy. She was accepted by the University of California, Berkeley, where she completed her master's in physics and PhD in neutrino astrophysics. When a physics teaching lesson position opened in the Air Force Academy, she applied and was accepted in January of 2016. During the COVID scamdemic, she fought against the mandates and helped students with their religious exemptions. She therefore faced disciplinary actions and was eventually fired in September of 2022. She immediately filed a lawsuit for illegal firing and whistleblower retaliation. The lawsuit is in its final stages, which is just waiting for the final decision to be handed down from the respective judge. As she was facing disciplinary actions, God led Sandy to the Republic for the United States of America, the reseated republic that our founding fathers gave us, and which was abandoned summarily in 1871 when the corporation hijacked the government. All that said, Sandy, retired Colonel Sandy Miarecki, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. And it's just Sandy.
Okay. Well, we just wanted to show you the utmost respect. So Sandy, if you would, we talked offline a little bit about your testimony, but obviously our audience respectively has not heard that. And I also want to give an acknowledgement to our mutual friend, Kim, who coordinated this opportunity. So would you share with us your testimony, what you faced and how you overcame it?
So the biography is a pretty good summary in a, kind of top level thing. The thing that I couldn't go through with what they were doing to everyone in the active duty, being vaccine damaged, as you mentioned, it gave me a lot of knowledge because I had to actually research all this stuff in order to treat my own conditions, because as we all know, the doctors are completely hijacked and taken, and pharma, cabal and whatever you want to call them. Hospitals are killing zones. How many people out here, probably your viewers, a grandmother or a friend or somebody died from these shots. And I knew they were not right. You don't rush a vaccine. It's not even what it is. And it takes 8 years, 10 years to get a vaccine, not 8 months. For a technology that's never been tested before. And they say, oh, it's been in research for a long time. I'm like, no, it's never been tested before. So they just lie. They talk around all this stuff. And so the FDA went along with the lie. They're also corrupted and taken and blackmailed and whatever else, or going willingly in order to get money. The entire government is not a government. It's a crime syndicate. We call it a corporate crime syndicate because that's all it is. It has no authority, but it does have the police and the 3-letter agencies and the whatever, because they're all part of the corporation. So they have to follow orders or they get fired. And if not just fired, threatened, and their families and their whatever. So this is the world that we live in. And as I'm getting fired, I'm begging, I'm praying to God, God, you brought me to this Air Force Academy. I know it, I feel it. And I was here for these cadets and students and active duty and civilians, contractors, everybody that was coming to me. And I eventually had people outside of the Air Force. I had all around the world, people were reaching out to me. Would you help me with my religious exemption? Would you tell me about the religious exemption? Because my supervisors are completely not. And I'm like, I know they're denying you what's called due process under the law. I mean, I know all this stuff. I am not a lawyer. I have no formal legal training, but I am a smart cookie. And so when I remember something, I remember something. And so I'm repeating what the experts are telling me. And I'm being dismissed by my supervisors because I'm not the actual expert. So therefore, what I'm saying must be false. I'm like, no, I'm repeating the anyways, we could go into a long discussion. So as I'm praying to God, I know this is all going to end. What do you want me to do next? Because I can see that this is all happening for a reason. And eventually he brought random people into my life that were all from this thing called the Republic for the United States of America. And I had learned about it in October of 2021, which is right about the time when the disciplinary, I don't want to say actions, but disciplinary things started to happen. Um, and and so I knew the kind of the buzzwords, the history and stuff like that. And so when I hear these two, in the first instance, two random people coming in and having a discussion with me, and I start hearing these words, and I go, "Are you with the Republic?" And they go, "Yes, we are. How do you know about that?" And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And so then praying. I mean, that was probably a coincidence, right? God doesn't, that was just a coincidence. Praying. Second time, 3 weeks later, another person comes into my life. We're having a conversation. I hear the same kind of words, and I'm like, "Are you with the Republic?" Okay. That's like sledgehammer. Boom. All right, God, I got that one. So 2 times it only took me to finally realize that he wanted me actually working in the Republic. So I got involved right away as an outreach coordinator because of my education experience and my ability to teach. And I've had this God-given gift, I guess, my whole life where I can take something complicated and make it simple. And the Republic can be complicated. And so I created a video in November of 2021 that is available on Rumble, How to Save America. Or if you look for the word re-inhabited, that's like the word that we use in this republic. It's not an actual word in the dictionary, so that makes it easy to find. And we're on Telegram and Rumble and, Twitter and all that kind of stuff, so you can find us. So here I am. As soon as I got fired because of something called the Hatch Act, federal civilians really can't be involved in politics. Well, military either. But so as soon as that happened, then I talked to the Colorado governor since I was still in Colorado Springs. And I said, what do you need? And he said, House of Representatives. And I said, I'm your gal. So I got sworn in as the House of Representatives for Colorado. There's only one at this time because we're re-inhabiting, we're reseating. And so we start from one. Then I moved to Texas and I asked the question, well, why don't you guys put me in touch with the Texas governor and we'll go from there. And they go, congratulations, governor. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm the first one from the Republic in Texas. So you had to give me the little tiny state, right? With only 254 counties. Okay. And so that's where I've been ever since. So I am the interim governor of Texas in the Republic. So
Wow, that's fascinating. Well,
that's
thank
how
you.
I got here.
Well, thank you for sharing all the articulation and the tying in the timelines to get to this point. And that's a pretty impressive and remarkable story. And definitely, as you know, no coincidences in the kingdom of heaven for sure. And you've just proven that. So, Sandy, with all that said, it's probably a good segue to your testimony and the details thereof. One of the things we talked about on our channel about a week ago is I did a podcast to my specific audience and asked it to go viral, particularly to the church community, to vote in this year's election. And obviously, to vote as Christians, we should be voting for a godly candidate, which clearly in this case is a no-brainer, President Trump. Some kind of push back on us that the reason that they're not voting is because they think the republic has been restored or because the 2020 election was never resolved. So I'd like you to kind of talk about that and kind of, I think it's an opportunity for education from your standpoint as to why that's not accurate and why it is so important for them to vote in lieu of that misconception.
Sure. So that's the big question right now, right? We're only 6 days away. Well, ever since the Organic Act of 1871, our republic was hijacked and abandoned. And so a corporate crime syndicate, and as I mentioned, was put in place. So we haven't had a government since 1871 minimum. You could even argue all the way back to 1860 when the state started leaving before the Civil War. Then we lost the republic at that point. So the issue about the election is that we've had a corporate election ever since. So every election since 1871 has been a corporate election, meaning whoever's elected is the CEO of the corporation. For anyone who doesn't believe in the corporation, go on 28 USC 3002, paragraph 15. If that wasn't true, why would they put that in there? It says the United States means a federal corporation. I can go on Dun & Bradstreet and I can look up every aspect of that corporation. The White House Corporation, the Pentagon Corporation, NASA Corporation, the Supreme Court Corporation, the state of Florida Corporation, state of Texas, Florida. It goes on and on and on. And every state, every county is all incorporated because they had to be, because you can't have part republic, part corporation. It has to be all or the other one. So for anyone who says that we've had the republic restored, all they could be talking about is my republic. And we're not restored, we are reseated. And we're like a football game. We're on the sidelines waiting for the coach to call us in. We don't advocate for anything. We don't have to advocate for anything. No violence, no nothing. Because this corporate crime syndicate is on the verge of collapse right now, complete destruction. And the military, good guys, we do have good guy military, are going to help that process and are probably already started helping that process. So why is this election so important? Well, 2 months ago, I didn't think we'd even make it this far. But then our original president of this republic, James Timothy Turner, he said he's pretty sure we're going to get to the election that Trump is going to win. And I'm like, really? So I put on my lieutenant colonel military hat and I'm like, all right, let me think through this because I can think of 5 options. I'm not going to go through all 5. Your podcast isn't long enough. But in that evaluation, I realized that he was right from the perspective that that's the one the military is going to choose because it's the least violent. The least amount of death and destruction will occur if this occurs. Well, that means Trump has to win the election. Yes, he's got 80% of the support of the American people or whatever you want to call it. But if we don't vote, guys, we got to get out there. This is the last corporate election of this crime syndicate. First of all, it's historic. You got to get out and vote. And in fact, Trump is saying vote early. And I went, what? He said, what? Now, we tried this in 2020 and 2022, where, all the mail-in ballots and everything. And we said, okay, everybody, don't vote early. Vote only on election day, even if it's just to drop off your Dropbox vote. Make it all happen on the one day, like it's supposed to by the Constitution. So these votes are being counted early, like it's a crime syndicate, guys. Who's following the Constitution? Who's following the law? Who's following the statutes and codes and policies? And they're doing it in our faces. So yes, you have to go out and vote, unless you're like me. And I've already corrected my status. This is called correcting your status, which is the separation of your living woman, in my case, from this corporation that created with my fraudulent birth certificate. There's 2 birth certificates. The one that you see, that you get from the hospital, and the other one that you never see, which is in all capitals, and that's your corporation that they made stole your identity theft. So it's yours. But they are taking it and they're doing whatever they want, trading it on the stock market and whatever, and making lots and lots of money off of us, off of our
Monetizing our
identity.
bonds.
That's right, off the bonds. And so that's what correcting your status means, is because they've tricked us into thinking that me, Sandra Miarecki, has to be responsible for this all capital name fraudulent corporation that they made in my name. I'm not responsible for any of the debt or
Mm-mm.
contracts or whatever that they're making, but it's mine. That's fraud. You stole my identity, you did that, so therefore it's mine. I'm going to take all the benefits of it. So that's what's called correcting your status. And I've done paperwork on that.
Mhm.
Because I did that, I am not allowed to vote in this election because I actually told them they can take their voter rolls and stuff them. Okay. I never signed up when I moved to Texas. I says, I want nothing to do with your voter fraud. So that's the only people who can't vote. Everyone else has to swamp those polls, inundate them, totally overwhelm them,
Mhm.
make them have to count past midnight. And you can do it on the last day if you want to, but you can use that ballot you got in the mail if you want to, but just, and Trump is asking you to do it early. Why? That's my question. And it's got to be because he's got people watching and they're arresting these people as it's happening.
Mhm.
It's the only way Trump can win is if it's a fair enough election. It's not going to be a fair election. That's only what maybe this republic would be able to do once we're restored. A fair enough election so that he can actually win. And it'll be something like 52 to 48%, which is total bunk. We know that. Because an actual poll is saying he's polling 80%. Like the popular, opinion or whatever is that he's got 80% of the
At
votes
least.
minimum.
Yeah.
But not if we don't go. So it's historic. You got to go and vote in this election, the last corporate election ever in the history of the United States. You've got to support Trump because he's the only one that has even an inkling of a chance of saving this country and putting things being back the way they are. So with those two things, and it's the right thing to do. And you're right. He is I don't want to say, I'll say he's the best candidate, least evil candidate. I mean, we never have good choices totally, right?
Right.
But he's only ever been elected as the CEO of the corporation. 2016, he was the CEO. 2020, he was the CEO. Of course, they took it from him. But you can do in a corporation because there's no rules in a corporation. And so what I see happening after that, and that's probably the thing that's of most interest to your viewers and listeners. So he wins the election. He's going to somehow get a fair enough election that he will be declared the winner. Now, we're going to have a lot of unrest. Let's just say we've got, we think a couple million foreign soldiers that have crossed the border with these people that are trying to find a new life. Military age men, short haircuts, fully trained, Chinese, Venezuelan, Muslim, it doesn't matter. They're all from all these different countries. And they're gathering and they've got their shipping containers full of weapons and whatever. So this is going to be bad. And I just got a report from someone that I consider to be an insider that the current assessment is that we have 50% good guy military and 50% bad guy military. That's not good. Now, I corrected him and I said, I'm pretty sure what you're saying is we have 50% good guy leaders in the military and 50% bad guy leaders in the military. And all we got to do is convince all the soldiers, airmen, guardians, sailors, the ordinary folk don't follow the illegal orders. Now, unfortunately, they were already tested and they all took the shots under another illegal order. So are they willing to follow illegal orders? Well, maybe they didn't know it. But if someone says, go shoot those civilians over there, including those women and children, I don't know that they're going to do it. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Now, they may go door to door. They may try to go door to door. But I don't know, the rest of you have probably heard about how many weapons have been sold in the last 4 years. I think we've either doubled or tripled the number of actual weapons in this country, including the liberals. I do have to add that. I've seen them in the gun shows wearing their masks. It's crazy. So we have to vote, guys, because after this period of an unrest, and of course the military is going to have to move in, because if they don't, then it's civil war. Because I know patriots, they go to the firing range every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, and they're waiting for this. They're waiting for this exact time for when they're going to need to be shooting people. And we have to resist that as much as we can. But if we don't see the military supporting us, then I'm not going to talk you out of it, because you got to follow what God is putting on your heart. Make sure it's God that's calling you. We get to January 6th, when the Congress is supposed to verify the election, count the electoral votes, etc. And then January 20th, the inauguration. Trump will be sworn in as the CEO of the corporation. The corporation will still be there unless the military has removed it sometime between the election and January 20th. In which case, there's only one republic, and that's the one that I'm in, because we literally put people back in the same seats that our founding fathers gave us in the 1700s, got all the way up to the 1860s, Civil War time frame. 1871 was the nail in the coffin. And it was just abandoned. It was just laying over there gathering dust. And so we just started putting bodies back in the seats, swearing them into the Constitution, just like the military does. And everyone here is a loyal patriot, ready to serve temporarily until we can actually hold elections. Because that is now part of Nasara Jasara, that once the republic is restored, free and fair elections, truly free and fair elections, no machines, have to be held within 120 days of that day that the republic is restored. And I will be the acting governor of Texas, and all the other folks that are working for the republic will be their acting roles as well. We will be holding these elections. We will have military support for sure. Good guys. And once we do that, now whoever is elected into the actual republic. It will be the republic governor of Texas, the republic governor of Florida, the republic senator from Illinois, whoever it is. I'm not saying Republican. Don't get that mixed up. Political parties will completely get wiped because they are all corrupt. Every single one of them is still part of the corporation.
Yeah.
On. So whoever you is like, well, it's against Democrats, against Republicans. Well, you can throw all that away. It's gone. Yeah. It's actually God versus Satan. That's really that simple, guys.
Yeah.
So pick your, you can't sit on the fence of that one. You got to pick one or the other, and you got to be all in on whichever side you're going to be on. So then what is Trump's first act going to be once he's the CEO of the corporation? Well, January 20th is the party, so probably not that day, but January 21st, I would assume he's going to dissolve the corporation. That's what he wanted to do in 2017, 18 till 2020. He wasn't able to because the corruption was so deep and the American people were still sleeping. They're not sleeping anymore. It took that extra 4 years to watch this in your face corruption where they're not hiding it anymore. They're actually gloating about it, right? Bragging about it. Oh, look what we're able to do to you. Ha ha ha. And so that's awakened a lot of people. So without a quote government, which we don't have, but a fake one, who is going to take over the government? Because the military will not act without a lawful civil authority from the Constitution. That's this republic. So no matter which of those 5 options that I haven't told you happen, the republic gets restored. We get put in place. At the same time, insiders are telling us Nasara Jasara is activated. And it will happen globally. QFS, Quantum Financial System, that the machines, the mechanism is already in place. Over 200 countries have tested it, and they're all linked in. So they do like their little, beta testing on their own little country. Once they get everything, then they hook it into the master QFS system, and it's under attack every second, I think every minute of every day, because the bad guys are trying to figure out how to get in and trying to trick people into, oh, and please don't do this, people. Give us $100 and we'll sign you up for your QFS. Right. No, guys, they're tricking you into signing a contract so that you don't have a QFS account. You already have your QFS account. Everyone on the world already has their QFS account. You don't have to do anything. It's going to be given to you when the time is right. Don't fall for that scam. Yeah. And if you did, go talk to somebody because you got to get it back.
Right.
anyways, I don't know all the whole details on that. I'm not a financial expert. I'm a physicist, as you already heard, and a pilot. So, but this is, I'm repeating what the experts and the insiders are telling me. So that's what we see will happen. So what is 120 days from roughly the January 20th timeframe? That's about Memorial Day. Oh, didn't Trump just say something about an election around Memorial Day? Wow. So we are not working directly with him. And we can't when you think about it, because if we're supposed to hold an election where he's going to get probably elected, okay, I'm just predicting, I'm not saying that we're favoring him or anything, because we can't in the Republic favor anybody. Yeah, he's going to get elected, guys. So we can't show favoritism. We can't work with him, quote unquote, where we have to be separate, but we know of each other. We get, I call it breadcrumbs of information from the insiders telling us what's going on and what to expect. The military's been working with us since day one. Since before this republic was restored, they had contacted James Timothy Turner, the first guy that got elected as the president in this republic, to say, we got to get this republic restored. Can you guys do it? It was the military who came to James Turner and said, can you do this? And he did it. And this is where we are today. And rebuilding and filling the seats and getting the counties up to speed, because we got to have everything. Everything should be ready. Now, we're probably not going to be 100%, but could we be 98%, 95%? That would be awesome, because the military is watching our progress as we're refilling these seats. So that's the plan, I think. My best guess.
Pretty darn smart cookie guess, as you said before. Thanks again, Sandy. And that's why I encourage folks to pray Psalm 91:7. As you said, it's spiritual warfare, Ephesians 6:12. It's good versus evil, simple as that. And I think most people know that. But as you know, Psalm 91:7, 1,000 fall at your left, 10,000 at your right, but his strong arm upholds us in terms of the potentiality of attacks. But if we get ahead of it in spiritual warfare, we have that ability as Christians to pray that off of ourselves and our respective communities, pleading the blood of Yeshua over your home and your surrounding neighborhood. So I always encourage our believing followers to do that. So that, and I certainly know, we talked offline about changing your status, very familiar with that as well, as you know, and there's a certain protocol, but we don't have the time to get into that here today. That's a whole
there's
separate.
no more time to even do it. So
Yeah,
if anyone here goes, oh, I want to fix my status, it's like, don't even try.
Don't even bother. Yeah.
It's already all going to happen too fast. I mean, we're 2 months away from the actual execution of the plan, if not sooner.
Right.
If the bad guys try to do something seriously heinous, like nuclear weapons or EMP or dropping the plague on us or something through chemtrails or whatever the hell, whatever the military will stop that. And that will be the end of it right there and then. It will be a clean sweep. Yeah, whoever's watching Washington, D.C., who put the fence up around the Capitol building? And what is that like? It looks like getting ready for the inauguration. It's like, guys, it's November.
Or how about the helicopters 2 nights ago at the White House? Another example. And thank you for
they were behind the Capitol too. So, and there's something huge is happening right now in the Panama City area. I've got friends down there who said that they've been seeing aircraft just flying all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for saying what you also said, because I get a lot of people that say, why don't you talk about the status change? And I'm like, because unless you did it a couple of years ago, because we didn't know the timing until now, it's now moot. So I think the thing that people, I hope, really get out of this particular segment that you discuss is be patient. Don't be impulsive. Same thing we tell you folks with the reset, with the currencies. Don't be impulsive. Don't take these gurus and hotel deals and 1-800-buddy stuff. Just go through the banks, go and follow directions. Don't try to game the system, because you'll just be the one that's played. And Sandy underscored that. So I think that's.
I would also suggest, people look into this. Again, I'm not a financial advisor at all. The stock market doesn't have any chance.
No.
So if you are heavily invested in the stock market and you want to stay there because you're not sure about what I'm saying, take some of it out, guys. Half. You do you. That's all I can say.
Do your own research. Yeah.
Do your own research. But when all this happens, I don't know what happens with everything that's in the stock market. I don't think it's still there. They intentionally crashed it in 1929. Well, every stock market crash has been an intentional crash by the cabal for their own gain, because they always, shift the balance. So if they're like, okay, we have this much and they have this much. Okay, let's crash the stock market. Okay, now we have this much and they have this much. It just keeps getting the bigger and bigger gaps, and they're taking advantage of that. So don't get taken advantage of by that. If you're watching gold and silver prices, what is silver now? 32,
34, over
$5?
34.
Okay, so almost $35 an ounce. See, because John and I, we knew this and thinking about this years ago. I got out of the stock market at least 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, I think, actually. I started my status correction 3 years ago because I had no idea when all the stuff that's happening now was actually going to happen. So I was protecting myself and protecting my assets. But in actuality, when the republic is restored and there is no more corporation, well, that's the other half of the contract.
Mm.
When you don't have the other half of the contract, there's no more contract. And so that means that those birth certificate trusts technically revert to your holdings. Now, are you going to be able to pull 300 million out of them like that? No, because then we'll have, runaway inflation and everything like that. There'll be some sort of a system where we can access those funds as needed. We'll have some sort of advisor or whatever. It's like, hey, I want to pay off the house. Well, the house is already going to be paid off.
Yeah, it's all
because
artificial.
you've probably already talked about this, but whenever you take out any kind of loan, you put your social security number down. Well, that's kind of like your trust number, right? And
Right.
so that's the invitation for them to go in and to take all the money from your trust to pay off the loan. Every loan you've ever taken has been paid off the day you get it. And then they double dip and they come back after you and say, okay, now you have to make your payments. And you wonder why these guys are driving Porsches and Lamborghinis and whatever, these bank executives, right? This is how it is, guys. And so since every loan ever created has already been paid off by your trust, there are no loans on the first day of the Republic. And you're all going to be getting that information in the 8 hours of televised, this is how it is information.
Right.
So this is all the stuff that John and I are, comprehend about what's going on. But it all hinges on the election. It all hinges on the election, guys. 6 days from now. And it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. And if you want to just vote for Trump and nobody else, that's fine. But, we don't know 100% what's going to happen. How long will these criminals actually still be in power after Trump gets in? I don't know. We don't get those details. But I'll tell you what, the people that are running this whole plan for us, the good guys, they've been doing it since JFK's assassination in the 60s. This is a 60-year plan. You think they're going to screw it up now? They need you guys. Trump is their mouthpiece. Whatever he says, we should do. That's all I can tell you. I don't like him 100%. He's got some things that are very wrong, but good enough. And he was selected by the military. Same military that came to us to settle the Republic again. The same military recruited Trump. So this is all part of this master plan. Follow the plan, all that stuff.
Yeah. No.
That's all I can tell you.
Well said, Sandy. I mean, and again, God qualifies the unqualified. He's done it throughout the Bible. He did it with David, did it with Moses, on and on it goes. And so I've told my audience, if you're looking for a perfect candidate, you might as well wait till Christ comes back, and you don't know when that's going to be. So don't waste your time with that. And I want to, before my next question, I just want to talk to my audience for a minute, folks. Just because Sandy is giving you accurate information with respect to the overall, her inside information as to the plan, that's mutually exclusive from the currency reset. They're not connected in any way. It does not mean we're waiting till next year for that to happen. That's still anticipated this year with the events I've told you and our team has told you. She's talking about specifically the election, Trump's return, the events that unfold, and everything she's saying on that respect, I fully concur with her. It's laying out very nicely. So just divorce the two from your mind because they're not intercorrelated the way you think. They're separate issues. So Sandy, you kind of touched on this, but I just want to address it for posterity. So once the republic is officially restored, those of us who have changed our statuses are in one camp, but the overwhelming lion's share of people don't even know about it, let alone how to change it and go through the process, which you've said now we both agree is moot. But what happens in your estimation to citizens, which we know the definition of a citizen is a non sequitur because unless you're born in DC, make privileged income or work for the government, you're actually not a citizen. So they lied about that too. But what happens to those folks that have not changed their status as we go through the transition?
So as I was saying, I didn't kind of finish the thought, is that all those contracts are null and void. So in a one sentence summary, everyone's status is instantly corrected the day the republic is restored.
Simple as that.
I can't say it any more than
No,
that.
no, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I want to touch back on something that you mentioned in the previous discussion about in terms of once he's elected and the level of the potentiality degree of civil unrest, which we're praying against that. And we believe too that between God and the military, the good guys, to be precise, will, and I think you're right. I think the reason this had to drag out in hindsight as we look back in retrospect, you and I and the public that's watching, there were things that we didn't know then that we know now. Like you were talking about the status change. You didn't know 3 years ago what you know now. So you do the best you can. But as we work together as a nation, and I think you would agree, our greatest strength is our synergy. The deep state and the cabal have worked tirelessly over decades, whether that's 75, 100 plus years since we were not a republic, as you said, going back to post-Civil War time, 1860s, 1870s.
60 years.
Yeah, they've been working, 160 plus years to keep us divided by age, race, politics, gender, social status, how much we make, sports teams, you name it. And they did a good job, but their days now are finally coming to an end because our greatest strength is our synergy. So with that in mind, short of civil unrest and short of people going out and shooting the bad guys, what can be done as they try to stop President Trump or create as much heinousness on their way out as the demons flee to the point of January when he's reinaugurated and the corporation then changes it up like you articulately described. What do you recommend people can do to get involved in lieu of this with the least amount of violence?
Well, keep your eyes open. That's going to be the number one thing. The only problem is then who do you report it to? Because police are unconstitutional. Police are policy enforcers, and we don't have policies in the republic. It goes back to law. What is law? Well, there's only three, really. And then all the other laws branch off of that. Don't hurt anyone. Don't hurt anyone's property. And don't deny anyone their God-given rights. That's it. It's got to fall in one of those three categories for the most part. So I don't even know what to say else on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keep your eyes open. It's just and talk to your neighbors. If you haven't talked to your neighbors ever or in a really long time, go introduce yourself because you're going to be working together. Probably, I would say a high probably that we're going to have this quote 10 days of darkness thing that they keep talking about. It's a lockdown, right? Very similar to what we did for COVID. Mm-hmm. Funny how we had practice not doing this. And we're not going to be allowed out of our houses. So you just take care of yourself and your property and your family, defend it, whatever happens. So the only people that will be out and about will essentially be the military, the sheriff. That's the only law enforcement that's actually constitutional if they are following their oaths, which none of them are. So that's going to be the military who's going to assess each sheriff and deputy sheriff and et cetera. It's like, have you actually committed crimes? Okay, well, you're jailed. go put yourself in your own jail, and we'll keep going down until we find some that haven't committed crimes yet, or at least serious ones, so they're going to need all the help they can get. They're going to reach out to the community. You'll get the word in your county or whatever. We need anyone who's got, maybe probably I'll go with the veterans first. Do we have any veterans in the county who can come forward and help? That'll probably be the first call. Second call will be anyone who's got hunting experience, I would guess. And so then you volunteer or not. But taking care of your family, that's Bible stuff, right? Take care of your family. And if your family is taken care of because you've got, maybe an older son who can take care of the family and the dad can go off and help, do it that way. All right. But make sure you've got your food, your water, medicine, whatever it is that you need for this 10 days. I think it's just going to be 10 days of quote lockdown. It's not going to be like, well, if the bad, the army, the invading armed forces that are here that snuck in the border, well, they were flown in, guys. Let's just lay it down into all the cities. Cities are going to be the worst off, guys. Just saying. So if you're in a city, make sure you have a bug out plan. It might be walking, which would not be very safe, but that's where we're at. Then again, a city in lockdown, no one's on the streets, be pretty easy to figure out if a bad guy is on the streets. So we'll be all praying a whole lot during those 10 days. I pray about it all the time. So we've got to just do what we got to do. And for the folks that are thinking, should I get involved with this republic or not? God's going to call you. God's going to tell you. This is a Gideon army kind of a thing. So you're feeling it on your heart right now. It's like you're not even waiting to hear the end of this podcast. You're signing up already. That's how it'll feel to you. There won't be like a should I, shouldn't I? Maybe there'll be a little bit of that, but if you're praying on it, you're going to start feeling it, that God is calling you. And if he's not, that means he needs you where you're at, what you're doing. So listen to your instincts, listen to what you're being told. So I'll just throw that out there.
Good advice. Well, I think you've covered pretty much everything I was going to ask you in a nice, neat bow with a lot of sort of cross section, because these things are fluid and kind of intersect, as you know. There will be
very interconnected.
Oh yeah, very much. As we close up for today's podcast, what we always do, Sandy, is we ask our guests to last words you have for the audience and where people can find your work, because there will always be skeptics and doubters and fact checkers and negative naysayers, unfortunately, who are not convinced because there's so much disinformation out there, which was also unfortunately necessary, right? So if somebody wanted to do your background check, confirm what you're saying and all that kind of stuff, where could they find that work? And again, last thoughts you have for the audience.
Sure. So we have an extremely long website name, which we fortunately have a shorter one that will redirect. So it's republicforusa.org. And I'll spell it Republic, FORUSA.org. And then that's going to redirect to this really long Republic for the United States of America.org. And it'll say register, login, and a bunch of other things up there for the different tabs. And register is the thing you want to hit. It's where you live. So where is your house? I don't want to, it's like, where would you put your tax? What would you consider to be your IRS location, right? That won't be that, but no more IRS, by the way, guys. No IRS, no driver's licenses, no hunting licenses, none of that. But we will have to come up with make our new laws, because we're not going to just let anybody just go off and hunt all the deer, so we don't have any more, right?
Right.
There's going to be a balance. I can't go 90 in a school zone, So we will compromise, and we will have to come up with that on our own. So it's not just going to be we're just going to go back to, all for do whatever you want, which is as long as I don't violate those 3 laws I just told you. So republicforusa.org, sign up. it says, I think there's a drop-down menu that says, do you want to volunteer for an open seat or something like that? Say yes, even if you're not sure. It just opens up a dialogue with your interim governor, and they'll say, well, this is what I got open and this is what I got available. Does that feel right to you? And you can say yes or no at that point. So that's the best way to get involved. And you will be connected to your interim governor, and you can see where you can help. So we really would appreciate everyone to think about it and pray on it. We are just about to go over 10,000 members.
Mm.
We had about 100 5 months ago. Pretty cool, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Massive increase, and I'm sure you're doing great work on that, and we'll put that link in the description so that you all can go and at least inquire about it, learn about it, and see if, like Sandy said, it's for you. And as Sandy said, again, we're not financial advisors. Does not constitute as financial advice, but we're giving you good information that's pretty over the target that you can use for your own discernimental authority. But you've heard her talk about the stock market. I got out of that many, many years ago, all my 401ks, and started buying gold and silver and stockpiling for quite a number of years. So we have an excellent relationship with a gold and silver provider that you're aware of. They deal with 401k IRA conversions. If you are in stock market or you're just wanting to add to the cachet of what you have, we'll leave that link in the description. And as always, if you're looking for currencies, bonds of all the different countries, we'll also leave that link accordingly. Sandy Miarecki, thank you so much for your service, both on and off duty. Thank you for being here. The great articulation. And if there's time left before said reset, we'd love to have you back on here in the near future. And thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Take care.